I would argue that at the next opportunity for any bill that's appropriate, I might actually put in an amendment to create a curfew for men on the streets after 6 p.m, which I feel would make women a lot safer, and discrimination of all kinds would be lessened.
I wanted to comment on this video because it's very interesting that this lady here thought that she could stand up in Parliament and propose that there be placed a curfew on men, which implies many things, and I think it's important to address this. So, number one, and this is a common feminist rhetoric today, and it's that men are the problem. Men are the danger. And it's not that bad people are the danger. It's not that evil people are the dangerous ones, whether they be men or women. And women can be just as evil as men. However, what they try and say is that no, all the world problems are due to men and not due to women or evil people, just men alone. Now, I think an important question to pose is, if you want to lock up all the men, if you want to put all the men on their curfew, who will stand up to the bad men? You know, the bad men who decide to go out and wreak havoc because there is no good men out there. Now, you know, I'm sure we've all seen in our lives, we've all seen scenarios where there were bad men, dangerous men, strong men, physically strong, that took good, strong men to stand up to them for them to stop whatever evil they wanted to do. And there's a reason why bad men on the street will tease a woman, will harass a woman walking alone, but they won't do that if there's a man also there, because they are cowards that are afraid of another strong man. However, if that woman was alone, they may be encouraged to cause harm, to harass that woman, to catcall that woman. Now, if you want a world where all the men are kept inside, all the men are locked up, well, some bad men will escape and wreak havoc. Now, I don't even know why we're discussing this, because it's crazy to even discuss, but you know, what we see happening and the sort of discussions we see today are crazy discussions. You can see here the billboard that that's on the screen here is one that was actually in Manchester. Now, it's said that this is one that was done just to start conversation. But the fact that some people think that, some people can say that, is just crazy. It's just beyond me. You know, it's like, but how people used to think that black people were less than white people mentally. They're actually like incapable of thinking at the level that white people are capable of, as opposed to, you know, white people being possibly richer or so on in the West, being due to the fact that some of these black people were oppressed, they were brought over as slaves, they were kept under for a long time. And if you do look at history, you realize that there were times where the black people and the Eastern people, they were on top. And it's just how the world is today. But you know, things do change, and it will never it will not last forever. What we see today, where the West is the leading culture, it's not something that will last forever, and that's just the nature of the world. Now, the last thing I wanted to comment on was the last comment that the woman made when she was saying that if all men were to have a curfew after 6 p.m., that women would be safer. Number one, we've addressed that, and we've addressed the issue with that, is the fact that she's saying it's men that are evil, it's women versus men, as opposed to good versus evil. Good men and women versus evil men and women. Now, and she says there will be less discrimination. So there's a couple of issues with this. Number one is that you're saying by discriminating against men, there's going to be less discrimination on the streets, which is just completely foolish to say. Number two, you're basically saying that it's only men that discriminate, that women do not discriminate. Women do not discriminate against other women, for example, you know, and it's known that in the workplace, at least, that women actually are harsher on other women. They discriminate against other women more than men. So, it's quite ridiculous to assume that it is only men that participate in discrimination. Again, it's back to that mentality of men versus women. It's not good versus evil, which is a big problem. Because years ago, men and women used to work together. Men and women used to work together to build a family, to build a home, to build society, to build a good nation with good values. And religion did encourage that. Religion did encourage that. But nowadays we live in irreligious, we live in non-religious societies that do not believe in God, secular countries, and it's become men versus women. The wife and the husband compete against each other in who earns the most, who brings in the most money, who has the highest status, as opposed to working as a unit where the man provides and the woman keeps the home. The woman raises the kids. The woman, each is providing something that the other would not be able to provide due to the task that they have at hand. When the man goes out to provide and he works hard on his career and the woman is at home taking care of the kids, taking care of the home, he needs that. Whereas if the woman is just doing what he's doing, well, what is she adding to him? She's just like a roommate at that stage. And vice versa, when the woman is at home, she's taking care of her kids, she's able to have a family because she knows that there's a strong man who will lead her, who will provide for her and her kids, and she needs him. And so the relationship remains strong. Whereas nowadays, it's become men versus women in all aspects of life. And so this is why we see very high rates of divorce. We see very high, we see a lot of problems. Relationships don't last too long. And to end the video, I thought that this video was very interesting, and it was very interesting that it came out on the day that it did, because on the morning of that day, I came across this tweet that I shared with my friend that of this woman here that you can see on the screen. And I don't know who she is, but what she was saying is basically that women have it very difficult. Women are the victim. And it's as if to say that men do not struggle. Like if you read this here and you say that, some women have taken a longer route. I know men who have done that. I've probably done that in certain scenarios, that women have doubled back on themselves. Many men have done that. Many men have doubted themselves. All the points that she mentions here of women having it tougher, women kind of being the victims, women have to work harder, and so on. Now, I understand that women are more of a target. They're an easier target. If my wife is coming home late, I don't let her walk alone. I don't let her come home alone. I don't let her take public transport. I'll go and pick her up. However, my issue was not with people raising awareness to this. My issue is people raising it in a way to say that women have it tough. It's unfair. It's not unfair. This is why we need each other. Men need women and women need men. Women need men to protect, to provide, and so on. And this is evident. It's funny that feminists will speak like this and then turn around and say that, it's an unfair world. It's because of men. As opposed to saying we need good men to be vigilant. We need good men to stick by their spouses, their sisters, their daughters, and make sure that they're safe. We need good men to keep an eye out for other women on the street, make sure they're not being harassed, not being catcalled, and so on, and to be ready to stand up to any man that will do that, as opposed to making men in general the evil ones, the enemy. Women versus men, again, as opposed to saying good versus evil. Good men and women versus evil men and women. And there's plenty of stories. And, if anyone doesn't believe this, search, you can Google this, or we can do another video later on about the amount of times or the many different evil women in history that have caused so much damage, to society, that work with their evil spouses, with their evil partners, to do evil things. And it's not something that we have to search far and wide to prove. Anyways, that's it for today, and thank you for listening.